Hello and welcome to the Modern Mompreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dai Smith, here to talk about all things that can inspire, influence, and impact us as mompreneurs. And today we're going to talk about progress over perfection. I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like I hold my goals and my productivity on a pedestal as a mompreneur, expecting myself to do all the things to be show up 100% as a mom, 100% in my job, 100% in my business, and to still manage to do self-care and all the other things that are important to me. And it seems like a lot. And I think part of the reason is because I have a constant battle between progress and perfection. So today I want to just break that down because I have been able to do a little research and work on some things for myself and also help some of my clients overcome this need for unhealthy perfection, maladaptive perfection. So perfectionism exists for those, especially those A-type individuals who are very driven, very ambitious, have really high expectations, have stretch goals, who want to achieve. And let me be clear: there's absolutely nothing wrong with having an achievement, results-oriented mindset. I'm definitely that type of person, someone who likes structure and to set goals and achieve them, and looks for accomplishment in life. But there is something that's not healthy that's involves perfectionism in an unhealthy way. So recently, I read a book called "How to The Perfectionist Guide for Losing Control" by Kimberly Schaefer, and she talks about how there are different ways of identifying your perfectionism, whether it's a healthy way or unhealthy way, an adaptive or maladaptive. And then she goes a little bit further and talks about how there's different levels to this, y'all. There are different ways to identify your perfectionism, and there's 5 types. And when you read the book, you'll really identify one or the other. There's procrastinating perfectionism. There's Parisian perfectionism, which is where you're people pleasing. That's mine. There's perfectionism where you do have that OCD and you're kind of like classical and you really want things to work in order. But she really breaks it down. And when I read this book, I, for the first time, felt seen. I was like, wow, like there's nothing wrong with me wanting to achieve and to um, have these lofty goals, these big, hairy, audacious goals, and constantly I was trying to achieve them. No, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you are maladaptive, right, which is where a lot of us think of perfectionism, where it takes over, you beat yourself up, you have a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of even anxiety around, your progress. That's when it becomes unhealthy. And that's what I want to talk about today: progress over perfection. So, a lot of times I talk about with my clients that progression, productivity looks different for everyone. If you are a type A person who likes to have a lot of things on your schedule, say you have 15 things to do in a day and you get, most of those done, 75%, you feel like you've been productive. But then some people have like literally 2 or 3 things on their list and they get the two things done. That's still 75% or 60%, and they are still productive. So everyone's list, everyone's goals look different. And also, if you were able to achieve something, right? And so if you were able to achieve something, then I would coach clients that you've made some progress towards your goals. I always remember when I was working in marketing, I was working under a brand marketer who owned the whole brand, and I was kind of like his assistant with the assistant brand manager. And he basically said, when you go in every day, you have all these balls in the air. You got to look at rebates, you got to look at trial and usage studies, you got to look at customer stuff, you got to look at budgeting and forecasting and all this, and you got to meet with the ad board and the legal team. Like, you have all these balls in the air, and every day you go and you try to scoot a ball up a little bit. Like, it's like you just make a little progress here, make a little progress there. And I was like, wow, like that's how he does it, because he has such a big job with so many responsibilities. And that's how he was able to manage, make progress on just a little bit each day. And so I teach to my clients that, like, don't overwhelm yourself with tasks or have 15 things on your to-do list. Have a few things and just try to make progress on those. Of course, if there's something that you need to do that's super important, put that down first. There's many ways to, organize that for yourself, but just remember that you don't have to do all the things. And if you don't finish the important things that you need to do, don't beat yourself up. And that's where progress over perfection comes into play. And so a lot of times we fall into this perfectionism trap, right? Where we're striving for perfection in an unhealthy way. And we are always struggling with, the guilt around not achieving. I remember when I have a lot of things that I juggle, just like many mompreneurs. Let's just say for a fact you're running a business and raising a family. Hello, there's so many things to do in your business and so many things to do for your family, not to mention your marriage if you're married or yourself, that you can fall into the trap of thinking that you have to show up perfect in every way. Another book that I read a lot, but it's called Off Balance on Purpose. And so something that I've adapted in 2024 is instead of living in balance, I'm living in harmony. And so when you're living in harmony, you have all the things that you're working on. You have your business, you have your kids, you have your spouse, you have your self-care and your social life and what you want to do. And as long as everything is working in harmony, like blending and working together in a beautiful musical composition, then you're doing good. And so you're making progress on those things, but it's not perfection. It's not maladaptive perfection. So focusing on the progress is more important than trying to be perfect. Okay. Making sure that if you can check off or assign some priority around something you need to do and actually get it done, that's going to be more important. So it's just shifting your mindset to be able to adapt to this healthier approach of progression and productivity, where you're not holding yourself hostage around your perfectionism, your perfect ideal of what the day should look like. So some techniques for managing expectations and setting realistic milestones, like I talked about before, is having a harmonizing versus balancing approach. But also, one thing that I like to do is I actually teach my clients to use this model called the YAG, year at a glance. And basically, you do two things. You create your ideal week, which is your non-negotiables that have to happen every single week, like things that happen on a regular basis, right? You're always working out this time. You're taking your kids to school at this time. You are preparing. You're working during these hours. Then maybe you have pickup time for your kids. Then you have activities. You got to prepare dinner, bedtime. Like these things happen every day. You try to create some sort of schedule for that. And then you go in and you plug in, blocks of time where you're going to do different things. Like, you don't have to be super specific, but say you're going to get work done, which involves, checking emails, following up with clients, preparing for a meeting in this block of time. And you like set blocks on your calendar in your ideal week. Then you go over and you look at, okay, what are all the things I have to do? You brain dump. And then you assign them categories, right? Like for me, I have categories in my mind. There's a set of things that are related to the services I provide to clients. There's a set of things related to the operations of running my business, which includes my team, which includes like back end things, marketing, accounting things, all of that. Then there's a set around sales, which is marketing. I'm sorry, marketing and sales go together. So it's services to clients, operations, internal, and then sales and marketing, which includes like networking events or conferences, like things that involve me getting out there and selling. So once I brained up and I organize those things, and yours may look different, you may have different categories. I then assign a day to focus on one thing in that category. So, for example, if I have something related to marketing, I need to record content, right? Or I need to record a podcast. Like I'm recording. I will set a day for me to focus on recording podcasts. So that could be a day that I'm batch recording or a day that I'm recording one or following up on emails or making sure my assistant knows to follow up or, doing some editing, checking the social media posts, applying to be on other podcasts. So it's all that day is dedicated to podcasts. And so on my my year at a glance, I'll put one day for podcasting. That's my focus. I'm not going to add a bunch of things on there. It's going to be one thing that I'm focused on. And that allows me to really drill down on what's the most important thing for me to do. And as long as I make progress on that, I feel like I'm being productive and I'm not falling into the perfectionism trap of trying to do all the things And if you focus and you chip away at those most important things for the day, you actually make a lot more progress than if you put too many things on your plate that you can't achieve. So embracing that and being able to learn that those type of techniques is definitely going to help you. And as you go, of course, you can set these weeks up in your ideal week with your one thing you're going to do, but you got to be flexible to things coming up. And knowing that you're going to make some mistakes, there's going to be some times where you maybe didn't plan so well. So having flexibility in there is key. That helps you let go of that perfectionism and give yourself grace. And you also want to have a growth mindset. So what I mean by that is you're learning things. This is something new for you. Most likely, you've never really, had these techniques for you to employ into your life and your business. So just being patient with yourself and knowing that you're going to grow into your ideal of what you want. And so don't be limiting yourself or feeling bad about not having it all together, but have a growth mindset, thinking, okay, I'm going to continue to develop. I'm going to continue to nurture this way of doing things, and I'm going to make continuous improvement. That's critical because I see so many times people, because you're type A and you're a high achiever, you expect to walk into something and be great at it. And you're not. You got to learn how to do these things in a different way so that you can be better at it. So I think that those are really good ways for you to embrace progress over perfection, starting with your mindset, starting and then looking at what are some tactics that I can employ or strategies that I can use to be able to have a better grasp on the things I need to focus on. Accepting that if you are that perfectionist type of person, that's okay. You just have to learn how to manage it or to embrace it in a way that's healthy, that's adaptive instead of maladaptive. Um, Based on the readings with Schaefer's book, and also just really knowing that it's going to take time to learn these strategies, and that's okay. So whether you need help from like a productivity coach or you need to read some more literature around it, there are ways for you to overcome that and to not feel like you're in this product perfectionist trap and not being able to make progress towards your goals. So don't be stagnant, don't get discouraged, don't have anxiety around it. Just know that your progress is important and you're moving in the right direction as long as you are taking things one at a time and you're focused on them and you're moving along. Similarly to what my marketing manager told me back in the day, just come in every day, move those balls forward, give yourself grace, and know that eventually you will have you will get a grasp on it, or you will be able to find people to help you with this whole idea of progress over perfection. So I hope this was helpful. I know for me, someone who is type A, who is a structured lady, I really enjoyed learning how to embrace my perfectionism and see it as a positive, see how it aligns to how I set goals and the things I want to achieve. And I hope that you too find this valuable for yourself if you fall into that category, and knowing that having progress over perfection is actually the way to look at how you achieve your goals. And it's going to free you from the pressure of feeling like you have to be perfect all the time or doing everything a certain way. You can find a way to fit it into your life in a healthy way and be able to still be productive and achieve your goals. So thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to subscribe to the Modern Mompreneur podcast, or share it with a fellow mompreneur so she can be encouraged on her journey to progress versus perfection. And of course, all of my mompreneurs, always remember to give yourself permission to live out your full dreams, because you never know what's on the other side of that and who you can encourage. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks.